For my mom's birthday I gave her a used Lexus. But she rolled her eyes. You couldn't even afford new? My aunt whispered, pathetic. I nodded, took the keys and drove away without a word. The next morning my phone was blowing up, dozens of missed calls begging me to undo it. I spent 9 months saving up for it. Cut every unnecessary expense. No vacations, no shopping sprees, no dining out. I even turned down a trip to Mexico with a guy I really liked because I couldn't afford to lose a week of shifts. I was working doubles as a nurse's aide and pulling weekend bar shifts just to make this happen. The plan was simple. Get my mom a used Lexus SUV for her birthday. The woman had been driving the same beat-up Honda since I was in high school, and I thought this would be something good. Something she might finally be proud of me for. My mom always had a way of reminding me what I wasn't. I wasn't as successful as my cousin Rachel, who married a plastic surgeon. I wasn't as put together as my sister Danielle, who had 3 kids and a Pinterest-perfect kitchen. I was just Emily, still renting, still single, still bringing store-bought potato salad to Thanksgiving. But this year was going to be different. I was going to walk into her driveway, hand her those keys and watch her face light up. I imagined she'd cry, maybe hug me, not too long because she hates clingy emotions, but just enough to say thank you. That would have been enough. I had the car detailed. Leather seats. Smooth drive. The dealership even threw in a new sound system. It wasn't new, but it looked it. It felt it. And for someone like me who'd spent years clipping coupons and pretending to like ramen noodles, it was the most expensive thing I'd ever bought besides my student loans. The birthday party was in full swing when I pulled up. Balloons tied to the mailbox. Folding tables lined with Costco trays. My mom was out back with the rest of the family. I called her to the front and told her I had something to show her. She walked over slowly, wine glass in hand, chewing on some toothpick appetizer. She looked at the Lexus like she was expecting someone else to come out from behind it. Then looked at me. I told her it was hers. She looked down at the emblem, then back at me. You couldn't even afford new? She said it flat. Not even sarcastic. Just disappointed. Like I handed her a burnt casserole. Behind her, my Aunt Beverly, who once told me my voice was too whiny for a wedding speech, leaned in and muttered, pathetic. She didn't even try to whisper. I stood there holding out the keys. No one clapped. No one smiled. A couple cousins exchanged looks. I nodded. Said nothing. Walked past my mom, got in the Lexus and drove away. No one stopped me. No one asked where I was going. The next morning I had 19 missed calls. Then 27. Then 34. My phone was a slot machine of regrets. Texts from family. Voice messages from my dad. A group text from my cousin saying she'd been having a rough week. That she was just caught off guard. Someone, I think my aunt, wrote you embarrassed her. Then came a photo in the family group chat. My mom sitting on the porch holding the gift box that had originally held the Lexus keys, empty now. Looking out at the street like someone had died. Then my dad called. He rarely calls. Especially not before noon. I didn't answer. Then he showed up. Pounding on my door like the building was on fire. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. He said I had to give the car back. That she wasn't herself. That she didn't realize what she was saying. That she wanted it now. I asked him what changed. He said because your uncle offered to buy it from you and she lost it. Said it was hers. Started screaming in the middle of dinner. That's when I realized she didn't want me to have the car either. She couldn't have it, nobody could. I didn't say anything. Just closed the door. What happened next wasn't what anyone expected. 2 days passed. I didn't return calls. Didn't respond to the texts begging me to reconsider. Didn't open the door when someone knocked, even when I could see my mom's car parked outside the building for a full hour. It was silent in my apartment except for the hum of the refrigerator and the constant buzz of my phone vibrating across the counter. I let it all ring out. Then a letter showed up. Not an email. Not a text. An actual envelope shoved under my door with my name written in shaky cursive. No return address, but I knew it was from her. Inside was a half-hearted apology, 2 short paragraphs. She said she didn't mean what she said, that she was just overwhelmed, that Beverly had been planting negativity, whatever that meant. She ended it with, the Lexus would really help me with errands, you know. You still have the spare key, right? That was it. No acknowledgement of how hard I'd worked to afford it. No thank you. No, I'm sorry for humiliating you in front of the whole family. Just errands. I shoved the letter in a drawer full of junk I hadn't looked through in over a year. A week later, my cousin Abby messaged me about Grandma's birthday dinner. Said it was happening Saturday night and I was expected to be there. She added, don't pull another stunt like you did at Mom's party. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. That night, I booked a therapy appointment. First one in years. I didn't say anything to anyone. Just needed to hear a voice that wasn't trying to guilt me into giving something away. Saturday came. I didn't drive the Lexus. I took the bus. Wore plain jeans and an old hoodie. 2 hours, 3 transfers and a 20-minute walk later, I showed up just as everyone was halfway through the main course. The second I stepped into the dining room, every head turned. Not one person said hello. My mom looked me up and down and raised her glass. Look who finally decided to show her face. I guess she's done pouting. Someone chuckled. Aunt Beverly coughed into her napkin like it was all hilarious. I didn't say a word. Just took an empty seat at the far end of the table next to Uncle Ray. He gave me a small nod and slid over a plate. The room moved on without me. Jokes. Wine. Small talk. More jokes. Then my mom started again. This time louder. She told a story about how I once cried in middle school when I didn't make the honor roll. Said I'd always been too sensitive. Said she used to worry I'd never survive the real world. Then she looked at me directly and said, and now she thinks a used car makes up for all that. Silence followed. Stretched too long. Then Uncle Ray put down his fork. He said real low, that's enough, Loretta. She laughed, tried to wave it off. Said she was just teasing. He looked at her again and said, you've made this girl's life hell for years. And we all watched it happen. We're done pretending it's a joke. You humiliate her. You mock her. And when she gives you something you don't deserve, you treat it like trash. Not anymore. The room froze. I didn't look up. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the table might shake. He went on. You're out of the business, Loretta. No more checks. No more access. You don't get to act like royalty and then cry victim. You've done enough. She said something, I couldn't hear what, but it didn't matter. No one was on her side anymore. For the first time I saw her face without that sharpness. No armor. Just silence. Uncle Ray turned to me and said, you keep that car. Don't give it back. Ever. Then he got up and walked out. A few others followed. The room emptied fast. My mom stayed frozen at the table. I walked past her on my way out. She didn't even look up. It was the first time I ever saw her completely alone. Not physically, but in the way that actually mattered. And I didn't feel bad. After that dinner, everything got weirdly quiet. No texts. No guilt trips disguised as Bible verses. No surprise visits. Just a strange, still silence. The kind that feels less like peace and more like the calm before something dark. At first, I thought maybe they were done with me. Maybe I'd finally been pushed out of the family loop. And I can't lie, part of me hoped that was true. But another part of me kept checking my phone every few hours, waiting for the next fire to put out. Instead it stayed quiet. I kept going to therapy. Every Tuesday at 6. Jenna, my therapist, was calm in a way that made you feel like you were allowed to breathe. I told her everything, the birthday, the Lexus, the dinner. The years of being the disappointment. The girl who never quite made the cut. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Then one night she said something strange. Have you ever screamed at her? I blinked. Oh. I mean really screamed. Let yourself be as angry as you are? I said no again. That I wasn't raised like that. In my house, anger wasn't expressed. It was weaponized later, after a few glasses of wine and in front of a crowd. She said something I still think about. You've been swallowing your voice for so long, you don't even know what it sounds like at full volume. At first I brushed it off. Screaming at my mother? She'd love that. She'd twist it into some proof that I was unstable. Or dramatic. Or ungrateful. All the usual hits. But the idea didn't go away. So a week later I drove the Lexus to her house. I didn't warn her. I didn't call. I just showed up. Same lawn gnomes. Same chipped garden angel. She opened the door wearing her robe, and the second she saw me, her mouth tightened. She said, if you're here about the car. I told her to stop. I walked past her before she could say another word. Straight to the living room. The couch still had the throw pillows I gave her 5 Christmases ago. The ones she called cheap looking in front of everyone. Funny how she kept them. She followed me in, asking if I was okay, but not because she cared. It was the way people ask if someone else is okay just to make sure they're not about to be embarrassed. I stood in the middle of that room and told her to sit down. He didn't. So I started talking. I said I was done pretending. That I bought her that car because I thought for once I could do something good enough for her. That maybe she'd look at me and not see a letdown. I told her about the jobs I worked. The vacations I turned down. The nights I came home too tired to stand. Also I could give her something I never had growing up. A win. And she spit on it. I told her that every snide comment, every eye roll, every backhanded compliment had been stacking up inside me for years, and I finally hit the limit. That I wasn't her emotional punching bag anymore. She tried to cut me off, said I was being theatrical, but I didn't stop. I screamed, louder than I ever have in my life. I told her that she made me feel like garbage for simply existing. That no matter what I did, good grades, clean record, a damn car, it was never enough. Because I wasn't Rachel, or Danielle, or anyone else she could brag about at church. Then I said the line I didn't even know I'd been holding. I used to want to be like you. Now I pray I never end up anything like you. She looked stunned. Not guilty, just shocked that I wasn't playing my part. I walked out. Didn't wait for a reply. Didn't slam the door. Just left. In the car I sat still for a long time. Breathing. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my keys twice. But something in my chest felt new. Not good. Not peaceful. But raw. Boo. I got home and collapsed on the couch. An hour later Abby texted me. You lit a fuse. She's flipping out. I didn't reply. But the next morning I found out just how far she was willing to go. And it wasn't just words this time. The morning after I screamed at her, I woke up exhausted. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. The kind that settles in your bones after years of holding your breath. I barely slept. My voice was raw. My hands still shook when I thought about how it all came out of me like fire after a gas leak. But for the first time in my adult life I didn't feel crushed under guilt. That lasted until 8:42 a.m. Because that's when my phone started vibrating. Again. The first notification was from Rachel. We hadn't spoken since Christmas, when she called me emotionally high maintenance for crying during dinner. All she sent was a screenshot. It was a Facebook post. From my mom. Long public. Tagged to half the family and even a few of her high school friends. She laid it all out, her pain, her fear, how her mentally unstable daughter had barged into her house screaming threats. She wrote that I was violent, that I'd scared her so badly she couldn't sleep. She said she was living in fear and might have to seek legal protection. And then this line. Some children are just born broken. I did everything I could. Over 100 likes. Comments pouring in. Stay strong, Loretta. You were always such a wonderful mother. Emily's always had issues, hasn't she? I stared at the screen like I was looking at someone else's nightmare. The amount of people who didn't even bother to ask me for my side. People I'd known since I was a kid. It was like I'd been tried and convicted in a court where she was both judge and victim. But that wasn't even the worst of it. 15 minutes later I got a text from Uncle Ray. Call me. No. When I did, his voice came in fast, clipped like he was pacing. He said she'd shown up at his office that morning. No appointment, just walked in and waited outside his door like a statue. She told him I had publicly humiliated her, and that if he didn't put her back on the family business payroll, which she hadn't technically earned in over a decade, she'd go public with some old stories. Then she tried to sell me out. Said if he didn't cut me off too, she'd start spreading rumors about him. Then she got specific. She brought up a woman named Heather. A former bookkeeper from years ago who apparently left the company quietly. She hinted that if she talked to the wrong people, Ray's name might come up in ways he wouldn't like. That's when he said it. He's not just toxic, Emily. He's dangerous. I sat on my couch in silence as he kept talking. Said he knew now that giving her a pass all these years was a mistake. That he thought she'd burn herself out eventually, but instead she just kept finding new matches. Then he said something I didn't expect. She's been trying to sell the Lexus. He said she'd already contacted 2 dealerships and one cousin with a tow truck, telling each of them the same story, that I gave her the car and just got emotional, but I'd come around. Said the title was misfiled, but that she'd have it soon. Ray told me to move it. No. I did. I drove it across town and paid a friend in cash to keep it in his garage for the time being. Told him to say it was his if anyone came asking. I took the plates off and left with a rideshare. And just to be safe, I bought a lockbox for the title and stuck it in a bank. But the real twist came 2 days later. I was coming home from therapy and noticed a man sitting across the street from my building. Middle-aged. Ball cap. No phone. Just sitting. Watching. The next morning he was there again. I tried not to panic, but my neighbor confirmed it. Yeah, he's been out here every day this week. Keeps looking up at your window. You want me to call someone? I didn't answer her. That night I slept with my keys in my hand and a chair under the doorknob. The day after that I got served an official letter from a law firm. My mother was suing me. She claimed emotional distress. Said I had gifted her the Lexus and then stole it back. Said she had no vehicle to run errands, go to church, or escape potential threats to her safety. Claimed she feared for her well-being and that the car was part of an unspoken agreement between mother and daughter. Attached were screenshots of her Facebook post, text from Beverly, and even a fake statement from one of my cousins saying I'd shoved past my mom and destroyed family property during the incident. I sat there with the papers in my lap and just laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. It was completely off the rails. She didn't just want the car. She wanted the last word. So I made a choice. I wasn't going to fight her for the car. I was going to fight her for myself. I hired a lawyer the next day. I figured that would be the end of the surprises. But that night someone knocked on my door. It was my dad. And he looked like he hadn't slept in days. When I opened the door and saw my dad standing there, I didn't say anything at first. We hadn't spoken much in years. Not since he quietly faded into the background after the divorce, like someone slipping out of a movie before the credits. He wasn't a bad man, just absent. Present in photos, not in reality. Now here he was, in the doorway of my apartment, looking older than I remembered. No smile. No small talk. Just a paper folder under his arm and a face like someone carrying a secret too long. He asked if he could come in. I let him. He sat down without waiting for me and set the folder on my coffee table. Didn't touch it. Just stared at it like it might explode. Then he said it. I know what your mom's doing. And I should have stopped it years ago. I didn't say a word. Just waited. He leaned back and said he'd heard about the lawsuit. Not from her, from Ray. Apparently they'd been talking again quietly, ever since that night at Grandma's dinner. Said he'd heard about the Lexus, the Facebook post, the guy outside my building. All of it. Then he told me something I didn't expect. She'd done something similar before. Not with a car, with a condo. Back in 2005. A relative left it to her in their will, but the paperwork wasn't finalized, and before the estate cleared, she listed it on Craigslist and nearly got sued by the executor. My dad said she spun the whole thing as a misunderstanding and made the family out to be greedy and manipulative. Sound familiar? Then he said the words I never thought I'd hear from him. Your mother's been lying to all of us for years. But mostly to you. He opened the folder. Inside were copies of emails and tax documents going back over a decade. All of them tied to the family business. And all of them showing that while she'd been collecting payments for clerical support, she hadn't done a single hour of work since 2013. He said Ray gave him copies, told him to do whatever he wanted with them. He slid them toward me. Then he told me something that knocked the wind out of me. He's going broke, Emily. Apparently, after she got cut off from Ray's payroll, she started taking out cash advances on multiple cards. Her house was under a second mortgage. She'd refinanced twice. The Lexus wasn't just a point of pride. It was a financial necessity. She needed to sell it. That's why she lost it when I took the keys back. Not because I hurt her feelings. Because she lost an asset. It was never about love. He said he came to tell me all this now because he'd finally had enough too. Said he was willing to testify if the case went to court. That he'd admit on record that she was emotionally abusive. That she'd manipulated finances. That she used guilt like currency. I asked him why now. He paused for a long time. Then said, because when I saw her drag your name through the mud online, I saw what she used to do to me behind closed doors. And I left you there with her. He stood up, walked to the door, then turned back. You didn't deserve that. None of it. After he left, I sat there for a long time. Then I took the folder and scanned every page into a drive. A week later, my lawyer filed a counterclaim. It accused my mother of defamation, attempted fraud, and emotional distress. Her team tried to call my bluff. Said she'd never lose. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't alone anymore. Uncle Ray backed me. My dad signed a sworn statement. Even Rachel, surprisingly, offered to write a letter about how I'd always been treated like the family scapegoat. The court date was set. And then, something happened. My mother disappeared. Literally. Didn't show up to mediation. Stopped answering her lawyer. Her phone went dead. Beverly said she went on a spiritual retreat in Sedona, but no one actually saw her leave. Until a week later when the police showed up at my apartment. Because my mother had reported the Lexus stolen. And said I was the thief. When the two officers knocked on my door, I felt it in my spine before I even opened it. You know that instinct you get when something's about to break? That quiet panic right before a thunderstorm? They asked if I was Emily Townsend. I said yes. They asked if I owned a 2018 Lexus RX. I said yes. Then they told me it had been reported stolen by my mother. I didn't cry. Didn't flinch. I asked them to wait a minute and came back with the folder my dad left, plus the original title with my name on it, plus the bill of sale and my insurance policy. I'd been carrying those documents everywhere like armor. One of the officers looked them over, called in, and 10 minutes later they apologized and left. Just like that. But it didn't feel like a win. Felt like a warning shot. She hadn't gone to Sedona. She hadn't found inner peace. She'd gone into hiding to build a new plan. And this time she was using the law to make it look like I was the villain. I told my lawyer everything. He filed an emergency motion to get a restraining order and accelerated the defamation case. We never made it to court. A week before the hearing, her lawyer withdrew from the case. I never found out the full reason why, but according to Uncle Ray, my mom had stopped paying her legal fees. Claimed she was in negotiations to sell her house and would catch up soon. But no sale happened. Then came the real twist. Ray called me late one night and said she called me, begging. Apparently she'd asked him to step in and mediate because she couldn't afford to lose. She even tried to guilt him by bringing up old family secrets, but he wasn't playing anymore. He told her the only mediation she'd get was court-ordered. She hung up, and that was the last anyone heard from her for a while. No posts. No calls. Not even Beverly knew where she'd gone. It was like she evaporated. Until last month. Rachel sent me a photo. Said she wasn't sure if she should, but figured I had a right to know. It was my mom. In a rundown part of town. Hair dyed dark, face heavier. Getting into a rusted Corolla with a cracked bumper and a temp plate. No Lexus. No house. No pride. Just a woman who had pushed every last person away, and finally ran out of people to blame. That night I stood in the garage where I'd kept the Lexus all this time. Ran my hand across the hood. Thought about selling it. Thought about donating it. But something stopped me. Because even though that car started everything, it wasn't the problem. She was. So I kept it. And now every morning when I get in and start the engine, it's not about her anymore. It's about me. About all the hours I worked. The meals I skipped. The relationships I put on hold. The therapy. The screaming. The silence after. It's about the fact that I finally stopped buying my way into love that was never real. Now I work less. I eat well. I date people who don't make me feel small. I drive that car without thinking about who was supposed to own it. And last week I walked into therapy and told Jenna something I never thought I'd say. I don't need her to love me anymore. I just need to never be her. And that somehow is enough.